Hello and welcome. My name is Shasta Roberts. I am the author of Stronger Than Your Excuses, and welcome to another episode of me reading my book to you guys. So if you haven't gotten caught up on the videos, go back and take a look at the last couple of videos, listen to them, because we are well on our way into the book. We're starting on excuse number 3 today. Make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can get the notifications of every Thursday when I come out with a new chapter. So welcome to our book club, and let's get going. Today, excuse number 3, too much history. When I met my husband, I had just turned 18. I did not know what it was like to be on my own, nor did I know what person I wanted to be or who I really was. I was too young to have figured it out already, but that did not stop me from meeting the fraternity president and falling in love with him and marrying him. Now, when I look back at it, I was too young to know what I really wanted in life. I found myself well after we were married, had kids, and already built a life together. We've been together for 13 years and married for 10 of those years. Over a third of my life I have been with my husband. I was an adolescent who did not know a whole lot when I met him. And now I'm a grown woman who knows who she wants to be. There's so much history between us. I've grown up all while being his wife. My biggest unanswered question is, how were we so drawn to each other to get married in the first place? I moved to Portland, Oregon to attend Portland State University just over 1 month after I turned 18. As a freshman in a new city and not knowing anyone, I felt like I needed to be living in the college dorms. I wanted the normal dorm life for my freshman year of college. I was a high school graduate and now a college student. Everything moved along just as I had hoped. The dorm I lived in, the Ondine, had a shared room for me and my roommate, which included a bathroom. I attended a college that didn't have dorms with shared hall bathroom. This wasn't something that sold me on the college, but I couldn't complain. I moved into the dorm on a Saturday, and school didn't start till a full week later. I had a week to figure out the campus, meet new people, and be ready for classes. My dorm was not the only dorm with students moving in that particular day. All the dorms moved in, and all the students were coming into town to get ready for the new school year to start. My roommate, Tammy, and I had talked once on the phone before we met in person. Thankfully, we hit it off right away. She didn't become my best friend, and we haven't talked since that year we lived together. But I didn't have to room with someone I did not get along with. We became friends with many of the same people, although we were studying different majors. Tammy and I both came to college for the college experience. For us, that meant drinking, parties, and meeting new friends. We both had gathered in our adolescent, most likely from TV show or movie. People left their dorm room open so friends could come by and visit. As we were settling in, we did just that. We hoped and dreamed this would start us off with our first college experience. Who doesn't think just leave your door open and the world will come to you? We were both 18. What did we know? We were not shocked, though, when it came true that night. 2 fraternity guys were walking around the halls inviting people to a party. They just moved into a house, and the house was not officially their fraternity house yet. So they were having people over to drink before it turned into a dry house. You guessed it. We said yes and asked when and where. This did not seem weird at all. Although thinking back on it, who knows who these guys could have really been. We didn't think about that though. We were too excited. After getting ready, we walked to the house since it was only a block away. We walked by the front of the house a couple times. The house seemed quiet from the outside. We were nervous to knock on the door, wondering if we had the wrong address. When we got up the courage to knock, we found out that we were actually at the right place. It seems deserted from the outside because it wasn't filled with people. Maybe everyone else thought what we should have been thinking. Like how strange people we don't know were inviting innocent freshmen over to their house. Although there wasn't a lot of people, there were enough people to play some card games. With a pretty good mix of half girls and half guys in their sparse, just moved into house, we sat down at a table and started playing. We were not 21, so we did not bring any beer, but there seemed to be plenty enough for everyone. To make the gathering less awkward for us, we struck up a conversation with the two guys that came to our room. They were around the same age and cute, so it made it a little easier. There were other people there too, but the only other person I remember being there that night was the president of the fraternity. He was cute and way out of my league. We had a degree of separation between us at the table, so we weren't able to talk while playing. Halfway through the game, which by the way, I don't remember the game we were even playing, there was a smoke break. Most of the people I hung out with in college, including myself, smoked. I had already been a smoker for about 6 months, so I was prepared for this break. A smoke break happens in a circle of people who smoke. The guys that came to our room were not smokers, and neither was Tammy. Although she came outside with me anyways because we had already decided we would stick together that night. To my surprise, the president came out to smoke with us as well. This gave us an opportunity to exchange names and engage in small talk. Being an 18-year-old smoker seemed to put me higher into the I'm a grown-up college student category. Nothing more than glances, knowing he was too old and out of my league, was exchanged that night between us. I could not get him off my mind though. I went back to my dorm and created a Facebook account just to add him and see how old he actually was. I feel like I need to add, this was 2005, when Facebook required you to have a college email before you could sign up. You could not have a Facebook account if you were not in college. Weird to think about the difference now. It wasn't the same Facebook you know today. It was very simple. People still had MySpace as well then. But Facebook was the new rage at colleges, and I was there for the college experience. There were posters all over campus about signing up for Facebook because it was the exclusive social media for college students. I searched his name, added him, and found out he was 8 years older than me. I thought he was too old and out of my league before. Now the deal was done. He was cute, but nothing more was going to happen. I shut the computer down and went to bed. The next week ended up consisting of several parties, and I continued to meet people throughout the dorm. Just a couple days after our first encounter, I ran into the president again at another party. This time, I did not know what to make of it because this fraternity president approached me, started a conversation, and wanted to meet my friends, and he introduced us to his friends. Nothing important came up. We were drinking and smoking. The music was loud, and a lot of people were there, and the house was packed. Eventually, my friends pulled me away to go with them on their next adventure in search of food. Just like that, the next day came and another drinking party was being thrown at someone else's place. When I walked through the door of the house, what I wasn't expecting was my name being yelled out over all the loud music in front of all the other people. It was like in the movies when the music stops and everyone turns to see what is going on. Then, after a few moments, everyone goes back to their conversation and the music starts to play again. My name was yelled out from the kitchen by none other than Mr. President. He noticed me as soon as I walked in the door. We were never trying to find each other, nor did we talk outside these parties. We just kept seeing each other at them. Once again, we were here in this spot, enjoying casual conversation while drinking and smoking. It doesn't seem romantic because it wasn't, but we never intended to keep running into each other either. It just kept happening. This particular night, the party was serving Jungle Juice. Being from a drinking family, I grew up on beer. However, college opened up a whole new world of hard alcohol. Jungle Juice was the choice at many parties. It got you drunk fast and you could make a lot for cheaper than buying beer. Jungle Juice consists of cut up fruit soaked in hard alcohol like Everclear overnight, then adding Kool-Aid for a mixer. When the party finally ran out of Jungle Juice, my friends and I were going to just leave until Mr. President came and found me. He invited all of us to another party he was headed to. We were excited and didn't hesitate in accepting the invitation. Portland State is located in downtown Portland. Most of the students don't have cars, and most of the parties were close within walking distance anyways. We had walked to this party, so we had to walk to the next party. Mr. President led us along a paved trail between the house we were at and the apartment complex we were headed to. Without all the loud noise from the parties, Mr. President and I finally had time and space to talk. I felt comfortable with him. I wasn't sure why, but even walking on this unlit path in the dark of night threw up no red flags. During this walk, and unbeknownst to us, the crowd had fallen quite a few paces behind. By the time we reached the next party, the crowd had caught back up to us. Our conversation was short, but more meaningful than we had had at one of the parties. Although we went to this next party together, we didn't stay together at it, and quite quickly I left with my friends. With all these times we had seen each other and talked with each other, we still didn't know each other very well. Neither of us were trying to pursue one another, so it didn't really matter. The week was almost over and school would be starting soon. The college party scene seemed to settle down a couple days before. In college, there is homework from day one. This seems weird to think about now, but most students did not come to college with a computer. This was back when most households had only one, and most likely not even a laptop. Computers were expensive, and the cheapest ran about $1,000. Although Wi-Fi at that point was invented 7 years prior in 1997, Wi-Fi connection was not put into home computers until 2003, just 2 years prior to me going to college. Although I am young, technology has grown leaps and bounds since I was in school. Lack of college personal computers was compensated for with several campus computer labs. Stacks of homework equaled time spent in the computer lab to get work done. After almost a week of going about my routine to and from the dorm, classes, work, and the computer lab, I ran into Mr. President again. I had spent a couple hours in the computer lab and was on my way home. I was almost back on the stairs of my dorm building when we saw each other. This was the first time our paths crossed and we were alone. The street was mostly empty. Dinner was long over, and most people were getting ready for bed. In a split second, I thought to myself, I wonder what it would be like to have some time, just the two of us. I instantly felt this spark and wanted to explore more of it. We hit it off every time we came near each other. What if for one time we were not at a crowded party with loud music and booze? What if for a moment we could just hang out, the two of us? In the middle of my daydream, he asked if I would like to come over for dinner. He had just read my mind. I had originally thought he was too old and out of my league, but now that thought somehow seemed to be changing. We made plans for me to go over to his fraternity house a couple days later. No one was going to be home, and he said he would cook. When the day came, I didn't want to wear anything too fancy to just hang out at a fraternity house on almost a non-date. I'm not sure if it was actually a date. We never referenced it as anything more than just hanging out. My dressing casual happened to be a pair of 3 sizes too big light gray sweatpants, a t-shirt, and a pullover hoodie. I had dated pretty much 3 guys before this point, if you don't count middle school dating. All those guys, I didn't try to impress. We just happened to meet when I wasn't expecting it and hit it off. They all were also older than me as well, anywhere from 2 to 6 years older. I'm not sure why Mr. President's 8-year age gap seemed so much bigger, but it did. This wasn't the first time I had seen him, and this was supposed to be a casual non-date. Back then, I wore a lot of oversized sweatpants, so it was nothing out of the ordinary for me. They were my favorite and the most comfortable clothes I wore. Why would I not want to wear them to hang out with a cute guy? I was never into dressing over the top to impress someone. I knew that much about myself then, as I still do now. You get me at my most comfortable all the time. And I believe cute, trendy, and comfy should be described all my outfits I decide to wear. Mr. President made canned tomato soup with grilled cheese for dinner. I have no complaints when anyone cooks for me. I do not like to cook, so I will not complain when someone else does it as long as it tastes marginally good. I grew up in a house where I cooked or helped cook a lot. I didn't know how to cook, but I could do basic cooking. After we ate, there was that awkward moment where we didn't know what to do next. We needed to fill this voided space. We weren't at a movie or on a real date. So we opted to watch a movie, and he had a collection of movies I had never seen. Collateral with Tom Cruise is what we chose. The copy he owned was burned, so it was on 2 different discs. Half of the movie on one disc, half of the movie on another disc. The movie started and we sat on the couch together, not close enough to touch each other, but not at opposite ends. At this point, a whole other person could have sat between us. As the movie started, we started talking. And I mean really talking. We talked about our family and what brought us here to Portland State. This is where we both found out we had each lost a sibling when we were 13 years old. He shared his story about losing his big brother to leukemia, and I followed it up with my story about losing my youngest sister to an appendicitis. Before we knew it, the disc of the movie ended, and to watch the second half of the movie, we needed to switch to the second disc. We never even ended up watching the first half of the movie. As we were sharing our stories and learning about each other, the movie had played on without us watching it. We weren't sure what had just happened, but we both knew the air was heavy and we needed to lighten the mood. Instead of switching to the second disc of the movie, we decided to lighten things and watch Harry Potter's The Sorcerer's Stone. We had just poured our souls out to each other, and we were not ready to talk anymore. He invited me to snuggle with him on the couch. As we sat and watched the movie in silence, I started to think back and wonder what just happened. There was some sort of spark. I've never met someone who has lost a sibling like I had. I have never had this much in common with someone. He is too old for me, and he is out of my league. I wanted to have the college experience, which means not dating. I didn't want to be tied down. Time flew by again, and Harry Potter was over. This time, I watched it, and he fell asleep. I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. I was ready to get back to my place, but after that, I wasn't sure. I woke him up from the nap he had taken on the couch while cuddling during the movie. We walked to the door to say our awkward non-date, first date goodbyes. Is there really etiquette for ending a non-date? I wasn't sure. As I stood below the front step and he stood at the edge of the front door, a step above me, I had a sudden urge and I decided to go with it. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him. Just like that. No thought. I had the urge and I did it. What I did know was that I was not going to wait around for his reaction. I said goodbye, turned around, and walked back to my dorm without looking back. I'm not sure where it originated from, but the stigma on the first date 3-day callback rule has always been mind-boggling to me. It's okay to let someone know you like them without seeming too eager and not waiting 3 days. I hope that dating rule has been thrown out with the texting and social media technology we have now. I know I woke up the next day wanting to dive into where my feelings with Mr. President would lead, even though I did not want to date. Something kept pulling me in and made me want to pursue him. So I texted him the next day to say that I had a good time. And I heard nothing back. A few more days later, I had a free night from school and decided to text him again. Once again, I heard nothing back. Not even a note back to say he was busy. Texting was basic, but still a thing and had been for several years. Needless to say, I knew he received my text messages and didn't miss them like you would a phone call. That next weekend, I gave it one more shot. My roommate was not going to be home that night, so I decided I would text him one more time. I told myself, if he doesn't answer, I'm moving on and will forget about him. My text asked him if he wanted to come over for a movie. This time, it was different. I received a text message back. It took 3 attempts to get any response back. In the end, I received the response I wanted, though. He came over to my dorm room that night. We were supposed to be watching Tommy Boy, but that didn't last too long. After talking through most of the movie, we started to make out, and quickly it turned into something a little hotter and heavier. And then I wanted more. I wanted a relationship. The thing is, I don't think that was on his mind. For the next several months, we were very loosely together. We would hang out for a little bit and then make our way to the bedroom. To say the least, we were fuck buddies, and there is no nicer way of putting it. If we saw each other, there would undoubtedly be sex involved. We slept mostly at his place because he had his own room and a bigger bed than mine. Most nights, I would sleep over and leave in the morning not knowing if I was going to be invited over that evening or be waiting a couple days to hear from him. Somehow I thought it was okay. I inevitably believed he would eventually see how great I am and want to be my boyfriend. Everyone we hung out with knew we were kind of together. No one talked about us being boyfriend and girlfriend, especially not me, because he had never acknowledged this. I was just a girl to him, but to everyone else, I was off limits because I was his girl. I had been in the not dating, just sleeping together phase too many times. Last time that happened to me, I got my heart broken, and I was not sure I was even over that person then. How could I make him want me for more than just a call girl? I honestly didn't know, and I was losing hope it would turn out to be more. That boy who had broken my heart from the last friends with benefits relationship was coming to town to visit. I thought I should figure out where I was with my past heartbreak before I could move on. All I can say is when I went home to visit him, I found out that past was behind me and the future with Mr. President looked better than looking back. The weird thing is at the same time, the same thing was happening back in Portland with Mr. President and an ex-girlfriend of his. Both our pasts had shown up and we had to decide if we wanted to turn back to them or keep going straight ahead together. I remember the first time I saw Mr. President after I came back from my trip home and he came back from a night at his ex's. I knew then I didn't want to turn back. I wanted him. Maybe he doesn't want me though. He could be reuniting with his past girlfriend and leaving me in the dust. You know the part in movies and books where it's awkward between the couple as they both want more, but they are not sure if the other person feels that way back? That is exactly how that night went. It took a long time for us to even physically touch with each other because we both knew what happened on the other side. When we finally did, it was a rush of emotions, and we both knew we didn't want to look back, and we wanted to be more than just fuck buddies. I felt like it took forever to get to that point, but we had finally made it. It was only a span of about 2 months that all this took place. However, even now, it seems like it was a longer time period. There's so much history with our story. I'm not in college anymore, and I'm not the same young girl anymore. But this is what marriage is supposed to be, right? You are together forever and have rough times, but you stick it out. I have always been told everything will work itself out. I wanted him then. Why wouldn't I want him now? We have shared a life for 13 years, and it's too much to erase and start from scratch again. We are not the same kids we were when we met. We both have grown into new people. The problem is, even though we have all this history together, we have grown all these years apart instead of together. It's okay he is not the same person anymore. I'm not the same person I was either. I had respect for him when he was Mr. President, when he was in charge and made life happen for him. He's not that same person anymore, and now sees life as it is against him. I can just hold on and remember how I loved and wanted him during this time in our lives. Even though I'm not happy with the person he has become, there must be love somewhere for him. If I loved him then, it must mean I still love him now. All right. That is the end of excuse number 3. So join me next week for excuse number 4, and I will see you guys then.